What's going on, guys? So if I'm wearing the exact same thing with the same exact background, watch my previous video where I unbox an empty Pixel Fold. I'm shooting this back to back, but this is my talkative version of unboxing the Nothing Phone 2. This is the white edition. Right now my SIM card is inside of the Nothing Phone 2 in the dark gray one, but I think the white one or the cream color one is the one that I'm going to use moving forward. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this unboxed. This is my first impressions and just to give you guys the unboxing experience. But first, a word from our sponsor, Nobody. All right, so this is the white box and we have the pull tab up here in order to get it out. So I'm gonna go ahead and do so. Hopefully you guys found that video entertaining where I said nothing the entire video, but here are my thoughts out loud. So in terms of the packaging, I love the packaging. I think they nailed the packaging here. It definitely feels special, but at the same time, simple. So inside here, designed by Nothing. I still think the entire brand is kind of funny, but once again, documentation that no one's really gonna read. This right here, the SIM card removal, I think this is a pretty nice design. It's very easy to spot, very easy to hold as well. In terms of the materials used, I'm not entirely sure. I'd even say where this box was made or where this product was made. Gotta give credit where credit is due, and just like last time, made in China. So continuing with the unboxing experience, we also have the USB-C cable that has the Nothing branded on top of it, and it's transparent. I also think that's a pretty nice touch. And then the phone itself, I'm excited to see this. Oh, they also have some print written on the front. I don't know why I said written right like that, but Earth First, Phone 2 has 53 parts made with sustainable materials. Its packaging is plastic free. So let's go ahead and get this unraveled here. And let me give you guys the first look. Tell me, how does it look? I'm about to see for myself. That is sleek. That is sleek. The cream, whatever color they're calling this, it's nice. It's nice. Definitely more refined than the last generation where it was pretty much just white and it was hard to see the internal components themselves. I believe this is the battery that I see right here. Right beneath this top panel here of the, what's it called, wireless charging. That's the battery right there in the background. I love the background, or the back of the phone. It is glass. It's rounded off at the edges. It's not rounded like the Pixel, I would say. In terms of the best design, I would say that goes to the Pixel 7 Pro as well as the S23 Ultra. Those phones feel phenomenal in the hand. I actually prefer the Nothing Phone 1 design. I'm not the biggest fan of the curved back, but I know that does help in terms of the dimensions and seeing everything else. So one thing to know about the Nothing Phone, I'm not the biggest fan of how low the fingerprint sensor is. It's awfully low to the bottom and it's really hard to reach for my thumb. That's just my own personal opinion. I would prefer it to be a little bit higher like it is on the Samsung devices, but that could just be my muscle memory being so used to Samsung phones. But regardless, the fingerprint sensor, it's good for what it is. The nice thing is Nothing provides a screen protector as well. So that's nice of them. And it's almost, I don't want to say almost, it's pretty much perfect in terms of how they applied it right at the factory. So appreciate that screen protector that they give to the phone. So some things have changed with the Nothing OS 2. Things are definitely more, there's more of an identity on this phone than it was with the last generation. The last generation in terms of the Nothing OS 1 felt like stock Android. This still feels like stock Android, but it doesn't look like stock Android, if that makes sense. So meet the glyph interface. We still have that stuff in terms of the call recognition, stuff like that. So we're gonna go ahead and skip that. Choosing the visual style, I do like how they implemented this where you have the default Android if you're more of that stock Android feel, or if you want the Nothing OS one. So we're gonna go ahead and click on that, finish the setup, and just like that. A little bit weird, but we are now inside the phone. I'll show you guys what my current home screen looks like. I know they have this whole black and white aesthetic going on, but personally, I'm a fan of color on my phones. I'm not trying to look into a book when I open up a piece of technology, but you know, it's nice that they have this monochromatic theme going on throughout the entire OS. But let's just go ahead and jump into some of the settings here. So the nice thing about this phone, let me go ahead and turn off dark mode. Only put that on during sunset and sunrise. But It is a dynamic refresh rate, so it does have that LPT. Basically, it goes down to 1 hertz, goes up to 120 hertz, something with a lower refresh rate panel. It's great. Helps with the battery because it doesn't always have to run at 120 hertz, but you don't have to suffer in terms of saving battery life by going on the standard, which is just 60 hertz. Definitely isn't a deal breaker, but as a person who has a used higher refresh rate screens, the ability to do dynamic and have it not be as jarring when it's changing between a high refresh rate and a low refresh rate is great. Next off, there is an HDR display, so that's great. It does get pretty bright. Colors, you can make it look alive, or you can have it be standard, a little bit more natural. That's good. Other thing is the lock screen and the always on display. So you have these lock screen shortcuts. So let me go ahead and actually always show basic information here. So you can see right here, I have my typical always on display. If you see other videos online, you'll notice that they have different widgets on the actual always on display. But if you get yours pretty much right out the factory, you might be still running on that version 2.0. You have to update to the version 2.0.1, and then you'll have access to these other widgets that you see right here. So for example, I'm gonna go back to my settings here, and this is just for showing you guys what's going on. But if you go to your display here and go to lock screen widgets, you have the ability to customize your widgets as well. Whereas on the Nothing OS 2.0, you don't have that option there, and that gives you access to a whole slew of other options, such as just basically things that you see under your quick settings for your phone. So I want to talk a little bit about design, because there are a lot of people saying that this is basically a copy of the iPhone, which I guess you can say is true, but there's only so many ways you can make a smartphone in terms of the out design, or I should say the outer design, because you have your lock button, which once again looks pretty similar to an iPhone. And then on the other side, you have the volume buttons as well. And then on the bottom, you have your adapter, speaker, and your SIM card tray. So once again, there's only so many ways you can skin a cat. And in terms of designing a phone on the outer side, there's not many things that you can do. But regardless, I'm a fan of the design. I would like the buttons to be a little bit higher in terms of the volume. Not that big of a deal. But overall design, I would gotta say, in terms of the transparent back, I love it. I know some people say it's a little bit gaudy, tacky, gimmicky, but I really do love the transparent back and everything that you're able to see in terms of the phone. Just makes it a little bit more unique. So going on with some other features of the phone, if I were to hop back here in the settings and just look at some of the glyph interfaces, right? We have the flip to glyph. So this just allows you to basically put your phone on quiet, but you will have the ability to see notifications based on the LED strips on the back. I do believe with the Nothing OS 2.0.1, you have the ability to have the essential one on at specific times. We also have the glyph timer as well. So all you have to do is set your timer. If you want to go higher, you just keep on scrolling. I believe it goes up to 60. And I'm just going to go down to 15 seconds for demo purposes. So I'm just going to go here, set the phone down, and you'll see shows this bar, and it slowly goes down. And we'll wait the next 10 seconds for the timer to go down, but it will do an alarm. You can mute the alarm if you don't want it to annoy you, I guess, but it's nice that we have an interface where you can see the alarm trickling down. So that's great. So a visual feedback that we have is the volume indicator. From my experience using the phone so far, I haven't found any use of this because it's very awkward. And on top of that, when I'm using my phone, there is already a volume indicator. I guess it's more or less for other people to know, but I haven't had anyone in my life so far of using smartphones where they need to know my volume indicator. People can say, well, if your phone is down and you want to turn down the volume, you can do that. But this is very awkward in terms of turning up and down the volume. I'd say for the most part, if I want to adjust the volume, I'm just going to pick up my phone real quick and adjust it there because it's more of a natural feel rather than doing something like this. But everyone's different. You might get used to it. I'm not. You have the ability to use Google Assistant and see a visual response down here and a charging meter as well. So the next part is I want to show you guys the display and also test out the speaker. So let's go ahead and throw up just a let's just say OLED video test. Video is not going to do this display justice. It looks way better in person than it does over the video, but I would say it's not like you're getting a Samsung display, right? I mean, technically this is probably a Samsung display, but Samsung, in terms of cherry picking their own displays for their own phones, those are on another level. However, this is good enough, especially for the price point. I don't think anyone is going to be disappointed using this display. It gets plenty bright. It's AMOLED, so in terms of the deep blacks, you're going to be able to get that as well. So I wouldn't be concerned about not getting an up to par display on a up and coming flagship phone. So let's talk about the cameras on the Nothing Phone 2. So it's way better than last year's, but you have to keep in mind last year's, if we're going to be honest, they didn't have the best of cameras. They were average at best. Now that we're moving up in price point, we are expecting better cameras, and I can say that Nothing definitely delivered. So this is just a regular photo. The back camera is much better than before, although it does have some problems in terms of determining a lot of the whites that it's getting, especially with a natural light. So as you can see here, this is a little bit overblown. Although I'm nitpicking, most people probably aren't going to care. They're just going to care about the photo, or I should say the face of the subject itself, the background, call it a day. The portrait looks way better. If you're going to take photos of a person, I'd highly recommend using the portrait setting on this phone. There's a lot of detail that's being retained here. The background's blurred, that has that nice effect. There's a lot more detail being retained on the shirt itself, whereas on the last photo, kind of seems overblown. But once again, nitpicking, but kind of have to at this price point. So moving on to the selfie camera, it's pretty much the same story here, where it's like the camera is vastly better than last year's, but once again, last year's wasn't that great. It was average at best, but you can see here in the portrait, there's a lot of detail being retained in my face. There is a bit of smoothing happening, but you can definitely see a lot of the wrinkles that I'm starting to form because of this channel. Look at that. That is a lot. But in all seriousness, the portrait looks great. The regular photo also looks great. A lot of detail being retained. Cracks in the lips because I'm dehydrated and I need some water. So this is just my unboxing and first impressions of the Nothing Phone 2. And like I said before, I have been using this since the video I posted a couple days ago. And I've got to say, I've had a much better experience compared to the Nothing Phone 1. There are a lot less bugs and glitches. And once again, it feels like Nothing has more of an identity on this phone. The price tag also gives them an identity as well. And they have to deliver if they want people to go over to their brand versus companies like Google, Samsung, Apple, at least here in the US. And that's where they're targeting this year. So I'm happy with the cameras. The battery life has been great for me. I have been using the glyph interface a little bit more. It's more unique, more useful to me. The feel, once again, I'm a bit on either side. I prefer last year's, but this one I wouldn't say is anything bad by any means. It'll grow on me eventually. But in terms of the fast charging, wireless charging, all that has been improved since the first generation. And I'm pretty happy with this phone, which is something I can't say for most products that I come across. But yeah, I will give you guys my full review of the Nothing Phone 2. Really excited to put my SIM card in the cream color one because this one, it's got a nice look to it. But I would say if you want a more muted, a more executive vibe, get the dark gray one. But you're not going to be disappointed with either color because they improved on that department immensely in this version. So hopefully you guys found this video informative. I appreciate every single sub, like, and comment. I know I didn't do a smell test. Smells like nothing. Still smells like nothing. The balance test, it's a pretty balanced phone. I love it. But once again, appreciate every single sub, like, and comment. And as always, guys, much love. I hope I was recording. I hope I was recording.